When I switched to Pro mileage, in my case, I got 46-47% of savings for that car.
Pro mileage was the only one that gave me 5,000 extra value to cover, yet still cheaper, a lot less. A lot less.
Yes guys, let's go through the car in detail. What this is essentially is the wagon version of the Taycan, but then nobody wants to call it wagons now, right? Okay, sorry, nobody around here. I'll take off my mask. So the Panamera has the Sport Turismo, right? And now the Taycan has the Cross Turismo, but the Cross Turismo sports another different proposition compared to the Sport Turismo being the wagon version of the Panamera. The Cross Turismo has some tricks up its sleeves. Look at the distance between the wheels and the wheel wells, and obviously you'll be able to see this part is cladded in what resembles SUVs, right? So yes, this is a CUV. You can think of it as a crossover, all right? Let's have a better look at it. Look at it. All right. So I think this is the kind of future segmentation that I'm really happy to see. Why? Because these are passenger cars, four-door cars, family cars, right? You want them to be sporty, you want them to be able to do dynamic driving on mountain roads and all that, but in city use, in day-to-day use, ride height is a good thing to have. Okay, so let's go through the little details. As we're now familiar with, the Taycan has these beautiful headlamps, and visually it may give you an enclosure of this shape, but actually the headlamps look like this. All right, and here of course it drives air, some aero elements as well. Over here, see, Porsche does functional stuffs. All right, it's a motorsport brand at the end of the day, right? And here the indicators are nicely integrated here, and from this you can see the material that we're talking about. Yes, these are plastics, but see what it does? It catches all these little stones and pebbles, you know, that you may be able to traverse. There's the charging port, right? Nice touch over there. Look at that. How cool is that? Oh. I mean, these are visual dramas, right? It's just so cool to see these things. Okay, I don't know how to close it. Oh, look at that. You want me to do it again? Oops. Super cool. And the door handles, when you lock the car, they go in, right? And then as you go near the car, they unlock itself, right, with the keys in your hand. They've changed the shape of the key now. It no longer resembles an exact replica of a Panamera, but the design idiom of what makes a Porsche, right? The classic proportions, right? The body lines, the wide arches at the rear. These are classic Porsche design elements, all right? So as you walk near the car, it should unlock itself. Yes, very, very convenient, right? So you don't, it's not even, it's an upgrade version of you putting your hands over there and then they unlock, but this one welcomes you by popping up the door handles. All right, so towards the rear, the familiar designs are there of the Taycan, the sexy futuristic LED tail lamps that just runs across the whole width of the rear is there, and of course the Porsche wording there that emanates out the red lights is really, really, really nice. Right, those are the turn signals, and look at that, it's just really nice. And this is the Taycan 4S. Okay, now the Taycan Cross Turismo comes in 3 variants. Okay, you have the Taycan Cross Turismo, you have the 4S, and then of course you have the Turbo. Malaysia, we did not bring in the Turbo S, right? Because of course, if you have special demands, you can make your demand. All right, you can make your special request and order it. But so far, in terms of rationalization of price point versus model range and all that, I think 3 variants is very enough. Okay, let's look at the wheels. These are shotted in Michelin's 245, 45, 20 inch. So you can see the size is 20 inch, but it's not a tire that is too aggressive. 245 provides just enough width, and you actually do not want tires that are too wide up front, because it just ruins the handling dynamics, just makes the car really, really heavy to steer. 245 I think is a nice balance, right? And a 45 tire gives enough comfort. All right, so these are really, really good tires. Of course, it's a Porsche, right? You wouldn't expect anything less. Okay, and down here we have the front splitters, we have the sensors, you know, basically the advanced stuffs. And given that this is an electric car, oops, sorry, put back my key. Did I say my? Yep, that's what goes on under the hood. Not a huge amount of storage, but there is storage nonetheless, because of course there are no engines over here. All right, and it's just this simple lever. Okay, and given that it's an electric car, given that there's no heat over here, you don't need heat insulating materials on the bonnet. All right, and there's no sound, you also do not need sound insulation materials on the bonnet. All right, let's go to the boot. There's a cute little wiper over here because the height of the rear windscreen is not that tall. Now, a lot of people, when they see rear windscreens that are more upright, and when they see it's just so tight, right, they thought rear visibility will be hampered. But actually, most of the time, your rear windscreens, most of the real estate doesn't translate to visibility, because visibility is provided or hindered by the angle with which the last pillar angles. If it's angled this way, it blocks a lot of your view, but it's straight, then it doesn't. All right. So as usual, these are the Porsche fit and finish materials. That's one thing when we car reviewers review Porsche, we don't need to judge on their fit and finish because it's just irrelevant. This is Porsche we're talking about, right? These are some sturdy materials. So unlike, you know, the way that they used to do, where they, you know, like the British cars or the luxury cars, they want to cover every surface with leather. Leather is nice, but it's not as lasting as superb high quality plastics. And if you think about it, these areas are not areas where you tend to touch. You know, you want these surfaces to be hard wearing, so you can put your dog in, you can put your cat, you can put your stuffs in, you can throw stuffs in there, you know, your fold the seats down, I don't know, just put your stuffs in. And these are all really hard wearing surfaces. I welcome that. And even though they're made of plastic, but these are some really high quality stuffs that you're touching here. You can feel it. All right, no surprises here. Tell me in your comments, are you the type when you buy cars you peel everything off, or you leave them for as long as you can? Tell me which type of person you are. All right. And of course, Porsche, you look at all the welding and glue points, everything is just so well finished. Right, BMW owners, pop your hood and look at the same thing, see whether it's as tidy or not, the glues. Right, powered struts, and there are some aero elements over here. It's really nice. Of course, I wish to see there are some holes here where, you know, air travels. Sometimes stuffs that suggest to you that there's a lot of performance aero going on might not reveal what it is in the wind tunnel. So it's better to trust car makers when they do their, you know, wind tunnel testing. Another thing I did not point out just now is look at the wheels. These are reminiscent of the Porsche RS design wheels, right? But look at the black parts, right? These actually, if you look at it, it covers a huge portion of the wheel. Why? Because it's really aero, but from far you can't really see that. You see the spokes and all that, very aggressive and all that, but actually there is a lot of aero elements going on over there. Okay, let's get into the car. Now, it is not a big car. This car, I would say, is 3 Series sized. Okay, starting the car. Okay, I haven't touched anything yet, but the moment you go into the car, everything just turns on because it is an electric car nonetheless. Alright, so oops. Oh, it's already on. Now, you have one screen over here, one screen over here, one screen over here, and another screen over here. Yes, this is the future, like it or not. And somehow, maybe for me it's biased, I can accept all this when it's an electric car. When it's an ICE car, I just feel a bit weird. Alright, so as you can see there, the passenger can have a view of the map, and of course the passenger can change different views if they like to. And this will be the main access where you access the car's function and systems, right? So Porsche has continued improving their infotainment system, and I see an improvement over here versus when it first came out in the Panamera. Okay, and the aircon control panels are here, and then look at that. So there are dual modes of input. This is haptic, you can hear it. Yep, it's very responsive, you know, it's very easy to use. That's the thing, you know. Lexus had this idea first, but the way Lexus implements it, right, is not so user friendly, because the way they do it, right, is as if a mouse cursor running across the screen. But this one is by selection. Alright, as you can see it over here. Every selection, it triggers a haptic feedback. I think this is much more user-friendly in a way. Okay, and here are shortcut buttons, right? Navigation, okay, music, your phone, sorry, and your settings. So it's interesting because this screen is also responsive. You'll be able to control everything here, but there is a secondary screen here that not only houses the HVAC controls, the aircon controls, but there are shortcuts to operate this, to jump between menus. And then there's this haptic screen over here. Okay, this is to sync the aircon, and there's a haptic screen over here that allows you to do your selection. Very, very clever. Over here, the driver sees, of course, this beautiful screen. It is slightly curved, mind you, so it looks really nice and really futuristic. It is curved, and then here you can see your tire pressure and all that, but you can change it with different oops, sorry. Yeah, and both these two are dynamic, all right? And this displays your speed and your range to 0. Very nicely done. And towards the fringes of this, you can see the buttons for these settings like traction control, ride height, suspension. That's really nice. And then over here, your headlamp controls and all that. So German car makers has sort of gave up that rotary knob thing, right? And this one, the sports chrono that every Porsche owner wants. I mean, now if you buy a Porsche and your friends got into your car and they don't see this here, it just feels a bit weird, right? So it makes everybody want to spec it. But of course, it's over here in the Taycan Cross Turismo. And then this is something I really love. I have to say, Ferrari was the first one who came up with this, having the Manettino switch on the steering wheel. So when you're driving, you don't have to figure through the menus to change your driving modes. And just over here, you just turn it and then you change your driving mode, you know, from Sport Plus, individual, Sport, normal, you know, range. Oh, instead of Eco, it's called range. Okay, interesting. All right, they call it range. Very user-friendly. But again, I'm just uncomfortable with this font. I do not know why. This font is rather un-Porsche like, unlike these fonts, right? Look at that. These are nice. This is not very nice. The font. That's the Porsche crest. Very nice. If you guys did not know, this horse was borrowed to Ferrari. Yes, I kid you not. This is the Stuttgart mare, female horse, that Ferrari had on their cars. That's for another story for another day. Okay, here's the glove box. Very huge, wide, and but it's not very deep. Okay, over here you have this really nice futuristic looking thing that looks like an energy pod, right? But it's an analog energy pod. Yep, it's an ashtray. Interesting. It's a bit weird to see a futuristic ashtray in an electric car, you know. Just weird. Now, yep, these are the cup holders. There are two of them. Those who are familiar with Panameras will see this as, hey, that's how Porsche does it. But from a point of view of, I mean, me reviewing cars for a living. I mean, that's my job. Okay, anyway, I kind of find that this center console could have done more for the usability of it. Of course, I understand by doing it this manner, it actually makes the car look sportier, and it discourages you from putting all your random stuffs all over the center console, because it's not healthy when you are doing dynamic driving, sporty driving and all that. You don't want a lot of stuffs over here. That's what BMW did as well. Earlier on, BMW wants you to put all your stuffs in the door pocket or inside the console, and the console always click locks because they see their cars as a driver's car, and they don't want you to put all the stuffs in your car, and then when you're driving dynamically, all these stuffs fly out around your car. All right, so the Cross Turismo or the Taycan actually has a space underneath here, which is very nice. But for me, I would want to see Porsche do something more dynamic over here, frees up the space, more user-friendly, I would say, for daily driving. No surprises here. You have the visors. The whole headliner is finished really nicely, short of using Alcantara. All right, that's really nice as well. Now this steering wheel is one of the best steering wheel. Porsche makes some of the best steering wheels in the business. Why? Because they study their stuffs. All right, now of course we always say that people who buy BMWs is only because they couldn't afford Porsches, and that BMW and Porsche actually is on the same parallel, in terms of what they pursue. Maybe further down there's Mazda. Okay, the size of the steering wheel, this is the correct one. The M Sport steering wheels, right, they are so thick, and even though it is it's a good grip, but I think this is a proper sporty steering wheel. The diameter is not too big, all right, and the girth of the steering wheel is just nice. And Alcantara for some is like, oh, I love Alcantara steering wheel, but it's not me. For some, they love Alcantara steering wheel. I do not, because Alcantara is great if you have sweaty palms, right? If you're someone with sweaty palms, Alcantara is really good for you because it gives you a really good grip. But when people like me who don't have sweaty palms, it's actually rather slippery. But it's a nice material to hold, and it's just comfortable regardless of the weather, whether it's hot or cold or whatnot, right? It's a nice material. Okay, these are, Porsche series. Look at how small the airbag housing is. It's really tiny. All right, so no surprises here. Your turn signals, your cruise controls, and then your wiper is there. This is something I welcome. All right, now don't go and move this. This is immovable. Yes, this thing is immovable. A habit of Malaysians, we like to fiddle with this, so don't do that, because you control it through the air conditioning panel. Okay, so if I turn on auto, if I don't turn auto, what would it be? Let me try and find. It's there. I've done it. I've played around with it. It's fun watching it, but sometimes I need to find where. Okay, climate. Look at that. All right. So you just point where you want the air to blow, and somehow it will blow there without this moving. All right. Look at that. Okay. It's pretty interesting. It's really fun, and it's a vast improvement from the Panamera. Okay, but again, I want to say this, Porsche engineers, can we have an automatic button, right? By pressing the automatic button, then you make them move around automatically. That's what I want. Right, because if you have the pneumatic controls or the electronics to move the vents at the back using an interface from a screen, why don't we have like an automatic feature, and then the air would just move around automatically, just like those Japanese cars from the 90s, right? Mazda has them. My Toyota Crown actually have them. All right. Now the seats, these seats are wonderful. Porsche makes wonderful seats, and I hope BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Audi listen to this complaint. All right, please don't give your customers lousier seats just because they buy an X1 or a 1 Series and all that, right? A proper seat is very important, and it shows as a premium brand you should, you know, give the best seats that you have to customers. I mean, I don't mean those like carbon fiber frame seats and all that, but actually some premium car makers, they give you smaller seats if you buy lower end cars, and I don't think that reflects the stature of a premium brand. All right, down to the door handles, the door panels. These are the door pockets, and the Bose stereo is over here. There's not a lot of room over here. I don't know why they put a little slit here, but anyway, you can stuff your wallet here, you can put your phone here, and then you put your other stuffs over here. It's carpeted inside, of course. All right. As for this part, this actually made me curious because, as evident as you can see, it's not wrapped in leather. All right, it is a soft touch plastic material that gets softer over here. It's foam over here, but gets harder over here. So this part, I would say, not the usual, like when you go Panamera, right, you have everything swathed in leather and all that, but these are just some tough plastics, all right, that are soft touch. And here the inlays, interesting fabric pattern over here, and this design is now widely used across the industry. Okay, like just one metallic strip. Let's go to the rear seats. Wow, it's really cold back here. No joke. I think one thing with electric cars is that the aircon components are not run off, they don't run off the belt of the engine, so whether the engine is started or not, you get nice cold full blast of aircon. All right, now the material I mentioned just now on the doors and all that, right, is covered all over the car, even this armrest. All right, these materials feel good, they're comfortable to the touch, but they're not leather. All right, and this is leather, and this is interesting. This little tray here, I really don't think is necessary. I think it ought to be just a seat. You know, that would be really nice, but somehow they want to emphasize that this is a proper 4-seater sports car. All right, cup holders, no surprises. Okay, and the seats, like I mentioned just now, from the looks of it, it may look a bit, you know, upright, but actually sitting on here is perfectly fine. It is perfectly fine. Okay, it is just all right, and it's snug. Definitely, it's not the couch type where you sit in and then you just closet yourself deep into the sofa kind of feel. No, it is. It feels like the sitting angle of the front seats, and with this headrest over here, perfectly fits the bottom of my neck. I get a very comfortable sitting position here because the fact that I can press my neck on this, and if I'm shorter, it will be for my head, but I prefer seats that support the neck instead of at the back of my head. All right, and visibility is very good. All right, from the back here, even though the windows are not too high, but that's not something I want. One thing I wish I could, I'm not sure if this is available as a spec, is a panoramic roof. I want my cars to have panoramic roof, regardless if it is a sports car or if it is a family car, or if it is a wagon or an SUV. I want them to have panoramic roofs. All right, no surprises over here. In terms of leg room, these are my size 11.5 feet. I'm not able to slot my feet. Oh, sorry. One thing I want you all to take notice is electric on the early part and then mechanical towards the latter part. So if I just pull a little bit, it is an electric release. All right, and I can open the door already, but if I pull it all the way, it's a mechanical release. All right, I can feel that. So here you can see the space between this and this It's not wide enough for my size 11.5 feet. In fact, I would say someone with a size 8 or 9 feet might be able to. I can slot my feet barely under the front seats. So what this says is that this is a sports driver's car where you have the added functionality of ferrying passengers at the back. So this is a good replacement for your 3 Series or an M3, but it's not a replacement for your 5 Series, like your proper comfortable executive family car. Okay, and this material again is used all over. It's a nice material, hard plastic, but there is a quality feel to it. Very nice. It feels like a really hard rubber instead of a really hard plastic, if you understand what I mean. All right. Now the proposition of this versus a Panamera is of course very different. Panamera is luxury. This one is high-tech, sporty. So it's not like they'll put a lot of leather and all that stuffs all over the car. Okay. So yes, this is the Sport Turismo. It is the sister car of the Taycan with a slightly raised ride height. You can fold down the seats, open the boot, and then you can store a lot of huge stuffs over. And it's unique. When you drive cars like this on the road, it's unique. But is it prettier than the Taycan? I cannot say that. The Taycan is definitely prettier. And the design was originally designed for the Taycan. This is a derivative of it. But I don't think yeah, it's a nice addition, but I think the Taycan still for me takes the cake. What about pricing? They are similar. Okay, the Taycan Cross Turismo and the Taycan, they only differ by about 20,000-30,000 ringgit, but this one comes together with the battery plus. That means on the Taycan you need to up spec to have a larger battery, but on this one you don't need to. Comes with it. I don't mean a larger battery, I mean the basically additional. All right, so yeah, this is the brand that has captured everybody's imagination, right? It is the most successful sporting brand in the world, one of the most successful car maker in the world, and they are across all fronts, be it luxury manufacturing, sporty technology, everything. Yeah, Porsche. All right, so here we have the Taycan Cross Turismo. All right, thank you for watching.
Thank God that the brothers on the rise now. Endless celebrations all in my house.